agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely. We do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, we've been a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Dear boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I've laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about Leather Apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers, just for jolly. Wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away, if I get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack the Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. P.S. Wasn't good enough to post this before. I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it. No luck yet. They say I'm a doctor now. Ha ha. I want to make two statements in regard to this show that you're about to hear. The first, I hope it's exactly what you've come to expect from the I Am Liberty show. Because this is me. And it's taken me 32 years to figure out what it is that's most important to me in this world outside of living, breathing creatures, right? Outside of the wife, outside of the parents, the family, the kids. It's taken me 32 years to figure out that expression is everything for me. I'm not a sports guy per se. I'm not a tough guy. You know, I'm not a video game guy exclusively. The culmination of everything that I do and everything that I really enjoy has brought me to this one thing, and that is the fact that expression is everything to me. That's it. And I hope that you can find exactly what it is that drives you one day. Statement number 2 is, I'm not sure if there's another person who can do what I'm about to do and cover the range of topics that I'm about to cover on a solo podcast. And those are my 2 statements. So I open up with a letter, infamously known as the Dear Boss letter, written by Jack the Ripper, purportedly. Pretty well known to be a hoax at this stage, but it's still the Dear Boss letter, and it's still attributed to Jack the Ripper, even though, like I said, most people think it was a hoax. It was forwarded to Scotland Yard on the 29th of September. You asked me, the host, what the hell are we talking about Jack the Ripper for? And it's in the title, and if you don't know what the title means, we're going to get into that. Now, I don't do movie reviews very often, but I do really like movies. Again, another form of expression. We're not going to do a movie review show, but we are going to talk about a movie. And that movie is the title of the podcast, Gotham by Gaslight. Gaslight. What the hell was that? Gotham by Gaslight. And it's important that we talk about this movie because over the years of enjoying Batman, And Gotham by Gaslight is a Batman movie. And it's an animated Batman movie. And you can turn the podcast off right now if you want. But yes, we're talking about a cartoon. If you want to follow with me, if you want to open your mind and enjoy this, we're going to have a good time. If you want to be closed-minded, I don't watch cartoons, then turn it off. It's fine. It's about 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The house is dark, the kids are quiet, the wife is away on business. And I'd like to talk about this movie. And other things having to do with movies in general. You know, I saw this movie in my periphery, and it featured a Batman. Well, let me give you the premise, okay? It's the world's greatest detective, as he is known, not in the not in the Hollywood world, right? Not in the mainstream world of Batman, but Batman is known as the world's greatest detective. So it's the world's greatest detective up against Jack the Ripper, who was never, ever found. There were conspiracies that he was more than one person, copycat killers, yada, yada, yada. But Jack the Ripper was never found out. So we take the classic London setting and we transpose it to Gotham City, 1800s, mid 1800s. And we have a young Bruce Wayne up against Jack the Ripper in his prime. And when I saw this, I said to myself, because I'm a borderline Iron Man style Batman suit loving Batman guy. Did that make sense? I like the tech. I like the drones. I like the car. I like all the various gadgets. I love the new suits, like the Arkham Knight suits, the suits that they've given Batman that are Iron Man-esque, really. And that is how I like my Batman delivered. Now, when I watch Gotham by Gaslight in a preview for it, obviously it's not that way, right? We're thrust back into the 1800s. We have a Batman who's wearing sort of a leather getup. He's got the bat ears on. He doesn't even have the black makeup around the eyes, right? It's just it's a very different looking Batman, right? And it's one that put me off automatically. I'm going to be honest, it put me off automatically. I said to myself, I don't know about this. I really don't know. I think this is going to be terrible. The suit looks horrible. Selena Kyle is a dancer, and she's got a top hat on, and she's dressed. Everybody's dressed for the time period, and I thought to myself, Batman versus Jack the Ripper, first of all, doesn't sound like a match. It sounds like if Batman is half the man he is in modern day, he's going to crush Jack the Ripper the first time they run into one another. But I went against my goodwill, and just so you know, for those of you who aren't initiated with children, when you have, what is the runtime? What was the runtime on that bad boy? An hour 17 or something? 78 minutes. When you have that kind of time to dedicate to something, you almost have to be sure it's going to be good. You can't risk an hour, because it's a rated, don't laugh, but it's a rated R cartoon on top of it. I know. What do you want me to say? Okay? I don't even want to give you an explanation. I don't feel like going down a path to another story. Just follow me. So I watched the film, even though it was a risk, even though it could have turned out horribly. Right? A Victorian-era Gotham City. Good grief. Bruce Wayne dressed up with some freaking overcoat on, and his bat symbol looks rough. And as I got into the film, I quickly decided that there was really no point in making this an R-rated movie, which is fine, whatever. Besides the point, right? We could have just cut the blood down a little bit and done away with the weird, scantily clad, yet one-dimensionally drawn women in the movie. It was kind of unnecessary. They could have pulled the whole thing off without it, in my opinion. But that said, it turned out to be great. I didn't read the comic before. You know, you got to understand the comic Gotham by Gaslight came out in 1989. So I was 3. And it's probably, even going back to find it would have been one of the last things on my mind. You know, when I'm out looking for something to read. I told you my taste in Batman. You understand what it is, right? I've told you before, Batman is every prepper's dream, right? He has a giant bunker he lives in. He has all the gadgets. He has everything stored up to survive the long haul. In fact, he even builds his own gang in the No Man's Land story, if you never read that. But anyhow, this flick was something I thought I'd hate, and I loved it. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the story. And what it brought me back to again was this. Well, first of all, the reason I'm talking about it tonight is because media is broad. Right? Media is everything is broader now. So for those of you out there who think that this idea of watching a cartoon is insane, this is the one. This is the one that you give a chance. That's A. Right? That's to the uninitiated, to the people who are scoffing right now. Second of all, integrating the world's greatest detective against one of the world's most notorious murderers of all time worked. It worked well. And I will get out and I will read the comic. But I want to talk about the onslaught of superhero movies. Because this story, the reason this story was great is not because it was a cartoon, but it was because it shared something that many movies in the superhero genre today, especially the big budget movies, have lost altogether. I went to see Justice League with my son, naturally. Got to go see Justice League, see what it's all about. And quickly, I realized what I was dealing with was oversaturation. It was oversaturation and forced storytelling. And I first encountered, let me just say, what I walked away with was the idea that some things are left better to the comics and the cartoons. You know, there's a movie out called Justice League War that is essentially the same story. Well, not exactly, but pretty damn well the same story that you watched in the theaters not long ago, back in November. Justice League War is the creation of the Justice League, the story of the creation of the Justice League. The story of the Mother Boxes, the story of the Parademons, the story of, you know, everyone meeting each other for the first time. And apart from Superman being like this egotistical guy in that movie, it's great. I mean, it's a million times better and more fun to watch than the Justice League movie was. And I started to wonder, what's the deal? What's the deal? I remember the first time I got this oversaturation from a superhero movie, and I thought it was just too much action. I thought to myself, it's just too much. There's just too much action. It's just every other scene is explosion and fighting, and you get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm bored now. I'm literally bored of fire and bombs and punching. But I realize it's a lack of suspense. It's a complete and total lack of suspense in the writing, right? The abandonment of suspense and filling that void with destruction and smashing and godlike creatures and giant beasts, and it's hollow. And one of the things that was great about Gotham by Gaslight is that, yes, it was in an 1800s setting. There was no Bat tech. There was no Wayne tech. Well, There's one scene that's a little techie for the 1800s, but I won't spoil that for you. But that's very much what it came down to. It came down to a suspenseful crime, mystery sort of story. With, of course, a good amount of grappling and grappling. And it further reiterated this weird situation with superhero movies. And I'm going to say it to you again. The Marvel and the DC universe, they have these big, gigantic plans for what you're going to do with your money. They have these massive plans, right? I mean, we have to see Darkseid, right? They put Steppenwolf in just so they could get us into the theater one more time after that to see Darkseid. Well, in the cartoon, in Justice League War, you see Darkseid. Steppenwolf is not even a part of that storyline. The man who comes down to wreak havoc on the planet is Darkseid. And he's giant. It's an awesome movie. And yes, it's a cartoon. And yes, it did so much better than the live action. And I think that's a reoccurring theme that we're going to see here, folks. I think you're going to be sitting in these movies, in these superhero movies, and you're going to be saying to yourself, what am I doing? Like, what is going on right now? I mean, the Coke's good, the popcorn's good, but what am I watching? If they can't build a story, if they can't add the suspense, I think of a storyline like Logan, which was a great movie. We were watching the adamantium berserker, and we were watching his life come to an end, right? The invincible adamantium berserker, Wolverine, his life was coming to an end before our very eyes, and that was gripping enough. Then we had the girl, then we had the clone, and you have a storyline, and you have suspense, and you're waiting on these moments. When's he going to croak? When are these two going to meet up and fight? What is the secret behind this girl? It's the difference between a good superhero movie and a hollow one. And I just wanted to bring this movie up because that's where it succeeded. It didn't succeed in incredible graphics, cartoon. It didn't succeed in overwhelming acting, right? It wasn't like, oh my God, what a performance. I mean, I don't even know who voiced Batman. It wasn't any of the Batmans that I really like. Watching, enjoying myself, and saying to myself, what's going on here? What's going on here is a good story. What's going on here is not a remake. It's not a piece together of something else. It's not a forced storyline. It's a good story. There's mystery, there's suspense, there's novelty, there's fun. And then it's over. And this thing was so far off my radar. But I had to bring it up to you. I had to bring it to you because there's no one else in the genre, whatever my genre is, that will bring it to you. And we need escape, and we need inspiration, and we need expression in our lives. There's no getting around that. Right? Batman Gotham by Gaslight. I don't know when it came out. It just came out the 23rd. You can probably watch it for $10. You could probably download it for like $5 or something like that to rent. Enjoy it. Kick back, watch it. Don't watch it with the kids. Kick back and watch it. Enjoy it. That's segment 1. Batman Gotham by Gaslight. Now the second segment's probably the one you're really interested in. And we'll get to that in a second. I've always been in love with Armageddon. Always. As far back as I can remember, I've been just mystified by the fact that it all can go in the blink of an eye. It all can disappear. And when you talk about the blink of an eye, you can mean what? Like a celestial impact, right? Where a big giant comet or asteroid smashes into the Earth and kills everyone almost instantly. Destroys the planet. Or the blink of an eye can also be a period of time in history that, in our long history, can seem like a blink of an eye, right? And that can be hundreds of years, really, in our total planetary history. Thousands, even. But I bring up this article about Spermageddon, not because it's about an EMP or not because it's about North Korea or the flu virus, which is a story in and of itself, but I bring it up because it's a legitimate concern. And it brings up a lot of thoughts about what the future holds for men in this world and what responsibilities they might have to take on. Handing over the world to your sons and to your children is one of the most terrifying things in the world, in my opinion. Right? I'm out of the pool. It's done. I'm finished. Right? The children have been made, and I don't think we're making any more. So what in the world is Spermageddon? It's the revelation that male fertility rates have plunged by 60%. Mother Earth's way of giving us a stark choice. Mend your ways or face extinction is the headline of the Daily Mail. Now, if this were gobbledygook, if this were something I found on Twitter, I wouldn't even have brought it up, but there have been serious studies between 1973 and 2011, and the concentration of sperm in the ejaculate of men in Western countries fell by an average of 1.4% a year over that time, every year. From 73 to 2011, 1.4%. The total fall was 53%. In the span of a single generation, about 25 years, the average sperm count fell by 60%, which is an incredible thing to say out loud. And I think I apologize for all women. I mean, not for all women, but to all women when I say sorry about the, what are they called? The fertility clinics. Right here we are rolling the ladies into the fertility clinics and giving them shots and injections. And, you know, once dad finally gets his act together and gets mom pregnant, she winds up having 33 kids. This has a lot to do with the situations of infertility that people just weren't looking at, right? All the blame was being pushed on the woman, unfortunately. In modern time, there's no getting around that. This is not a Me Too, #MeToo statement. This is just, you look back about 10 years and you see that all the fingers are pointed at women when it came to infertility. Right? You almost couldn't believe it. Man, no way. Definitely can't be him. He's always ready to go. Well, it turns out it may have been him. Right? A 60% decrease in sperm count over 25 years is something that it's a big deal. I am going to kill this guy's name, the epidemiologist from Hebrew University of Jerusalem, I'm going to say it's Haji Levine. Led by an international research team that scrutinized data on almost 43,000 men in 185 studies over 4 decades. Dr. Levine called the results shocking, and indeed, it is the most robust evidence to date of an unfolding disaster. Because this crisis is not simply about male sperm, it's the starkest possible evidence of the catastrophic damage we are doing to ourselves and the world. So what happened? Right? What happened? How did it happen? How all of a sudden does this semen quality just start to plummet? Well, I think we all know, right? I think we all know. I think we all know exactly what has happened. It's the destruction of our environment, combined with the fact that we don't take care of ourselves physically. You know, you can't sell me on the fact that it's booze and that it's drugs. While they may have their effect, and you can definitely say that the drugs have upped the ante in these years, right? I think the drugs that most people take these days aren't the same as the drugs that were taken years ago, decades ago, let's say. But the drinking, the alcohol, that's still the same thing. But I think the major differential is we're fat and lazy. We're fat and lazy, and we're immersed in a polluted environment. Right? So in other words, if the engine is going on all four cylinders, and you do take drugs, and you do get hammered every Friday, and you do live a lifestyle that's brutal, and your body knows what to expect, right? Your body is running, it's running on all cylinders. You may not live to be 80, but your body's going to run healthy because it's constantly running. The liver is working, the kidney. We know what sugar and we know what obesity is doing to people. There's no pulling the wool anymore. All that's over. And it's very clear that the male body, and the female too, but we're talking about males here, the male body has to be worked. You have to work it. It has to be worked out. It has to be taxed. Now, the article also brings up BPA or bisphenol A, which is widely used in plastic wrappers and containers. We all know about BPA, right, by now, which behaves in a similar way to the female hormone estrogen. It can leach into food and liquids and also present a dust in the air we breathe. Numerous laboratory studies have shown it is toxic to human sperm and especially damaging to the formation of new sperm cells. Big deal, right? Plastics are a huge problem, the article says. But they also say obesity. So it seems the chemical reacts with acids in the body fat to interfere with semen production. So this wild combination of BPA, bisphenol A, and obesity, and its interaction with acids in the body fat interfere with semen production. Very interesting stuff. Amazing that you can take two things, right? You can take your comfort and the belly fat that you're putting on as you age and slow down, cross it with this bisphenol A, which is on its way out, I have to imagine. It's one of these things we need to outlaw. We know what it does. It does so many harmful things. Meanwhile, chemical additives in junk food are also implicated in the sperm crisis. Cheap fats commonly used, such as trans fats, saturated fats high in omega-6, such as corn oil and sunflower oil, are known to harm sperm counts as well. Then we have organic pollutants, POPs, pesticides like DDT. POPs are belched from factories as industrial byproducts. It's real. What I like most about this story is it's real. I mean, there are more legs to this story right now than some of the doomsday scenarios that preppers are already preparing for. Right? That's what's interesting about it. Spermageddon is the revelation that male fertility rates have plunged by 60%. And it paints an interesting picture. Now, of course, the question becomes, for those parents of young men, those parents who have sons, this will be their issue. This will be their issue. And I imagine a time coming in the near future when you have to work to procreate, when you will literally have to be in the gym, be taking vitamins, be living a good, clean life in order to be, sure that it's going to happen. I mean, I remember having these doubts and these concerns in my own life. And that is in today's world. If you have kids, little ones running around, maybe in diapers, maybe just out of diapers, maybe a few years out of diapers, hopefully, by the time they're ready to reproduce, we're talking another 15 to 20 years. Now, we already have an island of garbage in the Pacific Ocean made up primarily of plastic. The runoff into our waters, what do you think that's going to be? like, primarily. What's going to outlive everything else in the landfills? It's an amazing and terrifying thing to think about. That actual procreation could become a struggle in our lifetime. But if we made it from 73 to 2011 with a 60% decrease, right? And now 73 and 2011, you're talking about two different universes. Really. I mean, you take a person, and the way that I always like to think about it is like this. You take a 10-year-old kid, not somebody who's older and an adult and could wrap their mind around things, but you take a 10-year-old kid from 1973 and you put him in a room with a 10-year-old kid from 2011. And the Martian. The kid from 2011 is a real-life Martian to that 10-year-old from 1973. So now we're moving faster than ever. Now we're producing faster than ever. More crap, more plastic. I mean, listen. We get toys from fast food restaurants. Kids don't even play with toys anymore. They want nothing to do with toys. Can you imagine the... Okay. This is an issue. It's a real issue. It's in the Daily Mail. And like I said on my last show, it's one of those issues that nobody's going to come out and talk to you about. Nobody's going to come out and tell you to tell your kids, listen. And I know you don't know if you want to have children yet, but you need to focus on healthy living. I mean, it's not like you can go on and live. You're going to forfeit an opportunity, one of the greatest opportunities of all time, if you live a life that is careless. Are you telling me that in another 20 years it's not possible that 60% drop turns into an 80%, turns into a 70%, 75%? I mean, we know, right? Parents out there, parents in the 2000s, parents of the 21st century, and even before, know what a struggle it can be to get pregnant. Struggle. For the women, it's a struggle. For the men, it's experimentation, baby. Let's do it. We need to get in the lab. We need to make sure that things are... Let's try this. But honestly, it's not easy. It's not easy now. And imagine what it's going to be like. Again, our environment is not getting any better, any quicker. And it's not because there's people who don't believe in climate change. It's because we're scared to make commitments. We're scared to make commitments at the human level, right? At the individual level. What did the Chinese philosopher call it? At the elbow thrashing level of humanity. We're afraid to make commitments. Right? We know if we tax these big businesses, then all of a sudden, well, there's a lot of issues that go along with that. We want our cheap goods. We want to be able to throw them in the trash. That's the problem. Well, it's coming back to bite us. All right? It's coming back to bite us, and this is it. What happens in a world? Now, of course, the thing in the back of my head is the abortion rates, right? The abortion rates are through the roof, but it seems like when people are prepared to have children or want to have children, they can't. Anyhow. But then again, it's a law of averages, right? How busy are you? How busy a lovemaker are you? And if you're doing it every day of the week, then, yeah, I guess that's why those abortion rates are so high. Still, I liken this issue to the sort of like this Spartan-esque man that has to come out on the other end in order to be able to procreate. And it's kind of interesting to me. It's almost a little exciting. But what's nerve-wracking is who tells the boys. How do you break the news to the boys? And what do you tell them? Because it is something that has to be considered. It is something that has to be planned for. You've got to be prepared for this. You've got to take on a lifestyle. You can't be spending all your time in your basement eating ho-hos. And you know what? Sometimes some of my best days were spent in the basement drinking Surge soda. That had to be good for the sperm count, right? Surge? Do you remember what Surge looked like? I mean, if you were in a sci-fi movie and there was an evil doctor who was creating something that was going to chemically castrate the male population, it would have looked like Surge. Spermageddon. You got to bring it up. You got to talk about something like that. So it's laughable, but at the same time, it's reality. I mean, the study is pretty wide-ranging. Now, of course, the one flaw with the study is this. The one flaw with the study is this. It's a lot of guys, right? 38,000. But man, what type of guys are we dealing with in 38,000 men? The type of man that is willing to show up, ejaculate in a cup over decades. Right? Over decades, and decades. Right? Because they had to use at least some of the same guys. But just the idea that, what type of person would do a study like that and participate in a study like that to begin with, is there already inherent issues with the quality of their sperm because of the type of people that they are. Who knows? I think it's dire enough warning, especially for my listening audience, to understand if you've got little boys, there's a struggle ahead. There's a struggle ahead, and there's, you need to feel really good about what you've done thus far with them. If you've got little boys and they're eating vegetables out of the garden raw, and they're eating well, and they're playing, and they're in good physical shape, that may need to be the trend. They may need to carry that on. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting doomsday scenario that I thought you would enjoy because, again, it's got more legs than some of the ones that we talk about on this show anyway. There's no one out there who can deny the fact that we haven't ravaged the environment. I just wrote an article today about fish shortages across the world. Fish shortages in the oceans all over the world. It's no news story, but it is terrifying to think about. The fact that we have basically outfished the ocean, and the fish that we haven't overfished, we've poisoned. And then, of course, the whole revelation that, we'll take care of this shortage issue. We'll just start farming fish. And then you realize that farming fish is just like factory farming, and the toxins and the parasites and the virus. It's worse than factory farming because at least with factory farming, there's runoff. But with some of these fisheries, these farmed fish, the farming happens right in the ocean. So then what? Where does all that waste go, and where do all those parasites from those fish being in close proximity to one another? Right into the healthy fish populations. There's no easy way out of this mess, I'll tell you that right now. I think we all, as humans, have to start taking steps personally first. We need to take personal steps towards self-reliance first. That's where it all starts. You go to the website, and I think I've pretty much hammered it down to about as clear and as concise as I can get it. The human that is going to live and enjoy life in the 21st century is going to be involved in strong communities. They're going to be healthy Americans living dynamic lifestyles, and they're going to be self-sufficient. And at IamLibertyShow.com, that's what it is. That's the focus. Strong communities, healthy Americans, dynamic lifestyles, and self-sufficiency. That's the bulk of what it is I want to affect going forward. Right? If you haven't got the free report on building prepared communities, go pick it up. It's free. Give me your email address. Yes, I'm going to email you if you give me your come on. What do you think? What do you think I'm doing here? Man Fit, Man Live will be out next. And the Urban Self-Reliance course is right around the corner, too. I mean, it's all going to be there. You can go get all the podcasts at IamLibertyShow.com. You can get all the articles that I write. There's opportunities there. If you have a product or a service that you want sponsored, you can become part of the site. You can even write for me. If you want to write for me, you will be rewarded. Okay? Let's just put it that way. Now, that said, it takes you. Right? I can bring you the news, and I can bring you dynamic shows like the one we had here. Right? How many topics have we covered? We started off with a letter from Jack the Ripper, right? Or a faux letter from Jack the Ripper. And we worked our way all the way back to self-sufficiency in the 21st century, right? In between, we talked about the dynamics of superhero movies and bisphenol A and obesity's effect on the sperm count of men. The struggle that the 21st century man is going to face, and how he'll have to be almost like some sort of Spartan-like warrior. Fit, in shape, eating right, watching the environment around them. Right? Where are you getting your water? What are you putting your water in? These types of things. Watching it all. And being super aware in order to get that one shot that changes their whole life forever. And we wind up here talking about the website. To those of you who are subscribed to the newsletter, you've got a gem waiting for you. All right? You do. You have a gem waiting for you. We're going to have a great live show Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have serious talk about this flu. The CDC is estimating 50,000 people will die before the flu season ends this year. Okay, that's terrifying. 50,000 dead from the flu. Wash your hands. Bump your vitamin C up. Right? Don't be afraid to get involved in these essential oils. They're not crystals. It's not crystal healing, all right? It's powerful essential oils from plants that have healed people from forever. From forever. We're going to have someone on, a man named Gabe from My Oil Journey, to talk about what you can do with essential oils to fight this year's flu before and during. That's in the newsletter. And I also I've been sending poems in the newsletter along with our most recent posts, along with various other things. You know me. It's about expression. But this time I sent a painting by Dante Gabriel Rossetti in the newsletter. It's a painting of Lady Lilith. And Lady Lilith is a scary, Lilith, right, is a scary character. Right, the first wife of Adam. I don't know if you know the deal. Basically a powerful and evil temptress, an iconic Amazon-like female with long flowing hair. She was known to tempt men, right? Dante took his mistress and painted her in such a way. Right? Dante was not a great guy when it came to, loyalty to his ladies. Beware of her hair, for she excels all women in the magic of her locks. And when she twines them round a young man's neck, she will not ever set him free again. And I'm sure he felt that way. This is it's a beautiful painting first and foremost. But it's an interesting painting because the original Lady Lilith by Dante Gabriel Rossetti was painted for the face of his mistress, with the face of his mistress Fanny Comforth. But later the painting was doctored to show the face of, who is it, Sybil? I can't remember her name. I'm drawing a blank. Let's see if they have something on it here. Alexa Wilding. I think that might be it. Anyhow, these are the things in the newsletter, okay? Sign up. You can go right to the website, sign up for the newsletter. do that thing. Do this today and do the other thing. And I think that's it for tonight, folks. I don't know that there's much left to discuss. Every once in a while, you get one of these wackadoodles from me, right? Years ago, I did a whole entire show dedicated to Mesoamerican culture because that's what I felt like talking about. And tonight, when I sat down in front of the mic, I said, you know what? This is what I feel like talking about. And Shakespeare said something to the effect about the importance of baiting the hook with your heart. And that's what we have to do. So don't miss the live show Wednesday night. Listen, it's a very important topic, and it's a very important thing that you have to understand is most likely going to affect someone near you. Okay, I got a phone. My wife got a phone call actually today from my child's school talking about the flu. An automated message about the flu in the school district. That's not good. There's nothing good about that. Preemptive strike maybe, but probably not. Okay, so it's here. It's going to take lives. It's going to take about 50,000 lives according to the CDC. So buckle up. Do your due diligence. Listen to the show Wednesday night and learn what you can do. Okay, you can get one of these essential oil packs. If you're a virgin in the essential oil world, you can get one of these essential oil packs for a little bit over $100. And you get powerful oils like tea tree oil. You get powerful oils combinations like their On Guard. This stuff is powerful. When I was sick just days ago, I was chomping this stuff down. I was putting it on my throat, gargling with it for the sore throat. It was helping with the fever. All that. Right now, they're telling you to wash your hands. So I want to give you a better option than wash your hands. So be there. We'll see you next time. It's James Walton with the Iron Living.